lace up those cleats and put on those mitts. It's time for another exciting edition of our Little Yankees podcast. Stepping up to the mic, it's the OLYP Team.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody, and welcome inside another exciting edition of our Little Yankees podcast. Episode 20 episodes strong, and we have been cataloging the Yankees each and every one of those 20 episodes, and we're excited because now we get to catalog them with some actual baseball, or just exciting depending on who you ask and how the Yankees are performing that week. But as always, I'm Julian, and my co-pilots for our episode of OLYP, as always, the one and only Josh. Josh, it's good to have you back, bud. How you doing?
Thank you. It's good to be back. I missed last week. You guys held down the fort for me pretty good. But yeah, I'm happy to be back. I'm happy to talk some baseball with you guys.
We're excited. This is the first time with you we actually get to discuss live Yankees baseball. So it should be exciting to detail everything that went down. And then, of course, we have the man, the myth, the legend, Eric Ray Sepulveda. E-Ray, what's up, bud?
How's it going, everybody? Josh, welcome back.
Thanks, bud.
And, now we're back, all of us three together, and let's do what we do best, right? Let's talk Yankees baseball. I'm pretty sure it's going to be a lot of emotion today when we discuss it. So I'm ready to go.
Yeah, I'm ready to go. Josh is ready to go. So let's get going. The fact of the matter is, maybe if we had done a reactionary pod yesterday, there would have been a lot more yelling, kicking, and screaming. But the fact of the matter is that after now 2 weeks of New York Yankees baseball, there's a lot to discuss. And a lot of it is good, but the majority of it is bad. And the bad happens to be that this team continues to have the same issues that they have had, not just last year, not just the year before that, but pretty much every single year since they lost in 2017 to the Houston Astros. And that is an inability to hit with runners in scoring position. And that is also an inability to beat the Tampa Bay Rays, which we definitely saw last year and was the reason why this team wound up falling in the ALCS or ALDS. And was the reason we started this podcast in the first place. So the fact is they did get a win last night. They wound up winning 8-4. It took 10 innings, and yeah, they did not really hit at all during the course of the game, but they were able to bust it open, which maybe might make some Yankee fans feel as though they were given something, despite the horrid weekends that took place down in Tropicana Field. But for the most part, boys, it was three very, frankly, embarrassing games down in Tampa Bay. And that also included a pretty putrid performance against Baltimore at the stadium on Wednesday. And now the team is one game under 500 when we record this podcast on Monday. They're 4-5. We are recording it before the game starts. Coltrane will be making a stop down in Florida to take on the Toronto Blue Jays a little bit later on in the evening. But let's talk about what we saw. Gut reactions. Let's get right into it.
Well, yesterday during that game, we were talking obviously, and I was saying how, I was so angry and I was just ready to explode. I wanted to record as soon as they ended the games. I thought they were going to lose. And I just, I had a lot to say, and the win, obviously you feel better about that. You don't want to get swept. And, they basically, they had that game won in 7,000 different ways. And then they found 7,001 ways to try to lose it. But then, they finally figured out a way to, to actually sustain a rally at the end to pull it out. The thing is, right, like 4-5 record, it's 9 games into the season. It's tough to get crazy about your record at this point in the season. I think the general sense between the three of us and pretty much what I see and hear elsewhere is that, we know it's only April 12th, but the issues that we have seen, especially this past weekend, are the same issues that have plagued the team for years now. And that's where you get a little bit discouraged, right? Like it's not about just losing, 1 game to Baltimore and then 2 more in a row to Tampa. It's the manner in which they lose those games and just how lifeless it can be at times when that offense is not clicking. And folks, that offense has not been clicking this year. Those 2 wins against the Orioles, when they finally sort of broke out of it, yeah, they scored 7 runs in both games. That was great to see, especially because they're not, hitting against great pitching. That's when you want to see them, sort of come alive. not counting yesterday's win, that yesterday's 10th inning, this offense has not been good this season. And I think we kind of expected, I mean, it's tough to say, right? Because on the one hand, it's like you kind of do expect the worst. We're not the most positive people, I would say, in terms of like this team and this fan base. We're not. But I think we just
that's our gimmick, though.
It is. We just hoped that it would be different this year, right? That they would just come out of the gates hot and make a statement, especially against that team that they just played this weekend, who have been clowning us now. And that's the thing, right? They keep clowning us, and the Yankees just lay down and take it, but they keep talking about how much better they are than Tampa. And it's like,
and you're not.
You want to tell me that you're better than them? Then go out there and play better than them and win. You can't win. They can barely win a game in St. Petersburg, for the past couple of years. They got embarrassed this weekend. Yesterday, they were lucky to win that game. If it wasn't for Rougned Odor's clutch hit, who we should even debate if he should be on the team at this point right now.
We all predicted that 2 weeks ago, right?
Exactly. Like, and then the bullpen, Chad Green and Chapman saving the bacon. What are we talking about right now? We're talking about a team, not record wise. We don't care about that at this point. We're talking about a team that's just lost 4 in a row and 3 straight again to those Rays, who they keep saying they're better than. And it's just like, when can we actually show it on the field that we're better than them instead of just saying it? Because it's getting exhausting. And the thing that I get from the three of us when we talk is like, we're just over their bullshit. We're over their ego and their arrogance and their confidence. Like, you are a really good team. You have a great roster. You have probably the best roster in the American League, maybe in all of baseball, but you haven't won anything. Mm-hmm. And you continue to fall short every single season against the same couple teams that are the thorns in our sides. Shut up and win. That's it.
It should be that easy, right?
It's funny because you made a good point in there, Josh, and this is what baseball is at the end of the day. Last week when E-Ray and I came on and we did the podcast, him and I were light and bubbly and jovial, and that's because the day before that they had broken open the game with that giant Stanton grand slam, and they had pitched really good. Montgomery had put in that unbelievable performance in that first game against Baltimore, and it just goes to prove you, it goes to show you that one game can change the narrative, which is why I felt it was so important for us to record. And you guys felt the same way on a Monday before the game, as opposed to on the Tuesday in the middle of the series like we usually do, because it allows you to really sit down and analyze what's wrong with this team right now and the lack of heart that they showed in those 3 games down Baltimore. Sometimes just swinging at first pitches in opportunities when they just didn't need to. Obviously, the Aaron Hicks double play with the bases loaded and nobody out. That's the one that comes to mind. It was
on
lazy.
The first pitch.
Yep, on the first pitch. It was lazy, uninspired baseball against a team that is your chief rival now, whether or not you believe the Red Sox rivalry is a thing anymore. Tampa is your rivals, at least in the division outside of Houston. And you went out there and you clowned yourself for 3 games. And it was frankly embarrassing. And that's why it was so important to record today, to bring the vitriol that we have over the weekend and put it into a podcast, because I'm sorry, and you were right, Josh, when you said this. I don't care that it's 9 games into the season, because whether it's 9, 19, 90, or the playoffs, this is the way that they have lost every single time where it matters.
Yes.
So why am I or you or E-Ray expected to think that just because this is the 9th game of the year and they're 4-5 and there's plenty of baseball to be left, that this won't be what happens if, heaven forbid, they have to play a couple of games down at the Trop during the playoffs this year?
And it doesn't feel like the 2020 season ended, right? It just sort of feels like a continuation. And that's what the negativity is coming from. That's where it's coming from. We've seen this team get off to slow starts in the past, and it's like annoying. Yeah, obviously, but you don't really worry. You don't panic. The sense that I felt over the weekend, I had never been that annoyed watching, April 10th and 11th baseball games, April 9th baseball games in my life.
I mean, think of 09. When that happened, there wasn't this track record of ineptitude that had happened for the years before that. They went out there, they spent big, they got CeCe, they got Burnett, they got Teixeira, and then they wound up having a bad start. They went 0-8 against Boston or whatever it was, and they were like, all right, well, this stinks, but hey, we can overcome this. We don't know what we are. We know what this team is. Flat out can't hit with runners in scoring position.
I think you guys alluded to it, but we're just fed up. Like, we just shut up and win. Like Josh was saying, I want to say though, actually for the three of us, I've been actually, I feel like I've been calm. Like
You have been.
Yeah, but that's not always a good thing if the calmness is right before the eruption.
And that's the problem, because yesterday, I think you guys saw it in our chat, I was ready to erupt. Like, if they lost that game yesterday, you might have had your first E-Ray eruption. I know last week in the live stream, they did see it because it was another base loaded opportunity, no one out, but we couldn't get anything going. But I think Josh mentioned it. The first thing I want to mention, the positives, right? And the positives has been the bullpen. I have a stat here. Chad Green, Chapman, Loaisiga, Sessa, O'Day, King, Wilson, Abreu. They've thrown 32.2 innings out of the bullpen. They've allowed 0 earned runs and just 10 hits, striking out 41. That's a phenomenal number. But
Very impressive.
Problem is, though, of course, a negative is we've been asking a lot of our bullpen, right? So far, really early. Another negative, Hicks in the 3-hole. I know it's early, but he can't be in the 3-hole. He can't. He's been awful. He's been brutal. He's been terrible. He's got to be out of the 3-hole. Another negative, Jay Bruce. Again, I know it's only 9 games in, but I'm done with them. I don't know if you guys are done with them. The Yankees are done with them because
the Yankees are done with them.
I'm done with them. It's not other than that what's it called? Home run that just made it over the.
And it was a cheapie. We watched it live on the stream, and it barely got over the short porch.
I'm done with that. And one last thing I'm done with, and I know you're done with, is Gleyber Torres at shortstop.
Yeah.
He's going to continue to play shortstop, and I hope for his sake and our sake that he gets better and that he can, like, not have this mental toll on him, because it could affect his bat. We've seen that also. But a reason why we lost that Orioles game in extra innings, which is a stupid rule, we agree with that too, that's another conversation, is because Gleyber Torres can't make the fundamental plays. You're a major league shortstop. He was. I don't know what he is, but he's not.
No, he is, because he's in the major leagues and he's playing the position. So,
but he was a minor league shortstop. He's only played major league second base, at least good.
Yeah, well, minor leagues is a lot different, I guess, because this guy can't throw to first base on any. And of course, it was Jay Bruce at first who can't catch a Cole. So, like, that's another issue. But those are the 3 things that I've seen this week that I'm fed up with. But thank God they won yesterday. But even yesterday's win, guys.
Exactly.
The miscues on the bases. Like, we love
Gardner. What is he doing there?
I think Aaron Hicks, right? The bases loaded double play yesterday. You have
same with DJ
LeMahieu, who we love. I mean, again, we said it was priority for him to sign him. I think DJ's going to be fine.
He's going to be fine.
I mean, he's batting
over hitter, you'll be fine.
So I'm not
but
so concerned about it.
I think I mentioned yesterday that, if DJ's doing this, like, it's a rough right now for the Yankees. Like, that's the guy you always want up. I still want him up to this day with the bases loaded, but he's just rolling over everything. Thank God they won, man, because if they got swept, man, it would have been, I would have erupted. And I feel like I've been calm, right? Like right now, I feel like whatever. But.
Well, you want to talk about, so obviously yesterday they win that game because of Odor's hit in the 10th inning. He was
Urshela.
Yes, and he was
Urshela game.
Odor was hitless before that at bat, but he had good at bats throughout the game.
He has, yeah.
And I just, I think he had been traded to the team when you guys spoke on Tuesday. So you kind of discussed it a little bit. Yeah. You guys discussed it a little bit, but I just want to kind of go back to that a little bit, because we were just, you were just talking about Gleyber at shortstop.
Yeah.
And this kind of all ties together. So, and obviously you mentioned Jay Bruce, who it seems like they're just kind of done with at the moment, because LeMahieu started at first yesterday and he's starting again at first tonight in the first game against Toronto. So it kind of seems like in that way they're prioritizing the defense and they're going to rock maybe with DJ at first for a little bit.
And Tyler Wade's gone for now.
Tyler Wade is gone. He's at the alternate site, or I guess he's at with the taxi squad while they're on the road. So here's what is interesting to me, right? So they all offseason, it was kind of discussed, should they sign a shortstop or should they sign at least, a backup shortstop? because we knew about the issues that Glaber has defensively. They opted not to do that. They opted to continue the Tyler Wade show, which has been a nightmare for the entire time he's been a major leaguer. I don't know how many times he has to show he's not a major leaguer before they pull the plug on this. I guess maybe now they have decided to pull the plug, but so they decide, 7 or whatever games into the season that we can't have this guy on the roster right now. They send him to the alternate site. Gleyber Torres is hardly a shortstop, at least from what we've seen so far. Rougned Odor is now starting at second base yesterday and again tonight. They don't have a shortstop. So they've moved DJ to first. They've brought in Odor, who is DFA'd by the Rangers, to now play some second, maybe some third, maybe some outfield, but he doesn't play short. The Yankees are making all these defensive switches, roster switches early in the season. You don't usually see a trade in the first week of the year. And it's just the construction of this roster this offseason was extremely frustrating to us throughout the offseason. And it's already bearing its ugly head, 9 games into the season, with the fact that the depth is bad. The depth is, again, bad. Now we kind of like their outfield depth with Gardner and Frazier kind of alternating between left field, and Tauchman. So far he's been fine, but he's been really mostly pinch running. But the infield depth is terrible, and they're already feeling it. And I think, we'll get Voit back, and it'll kind of everything will kind of shift back into place. But you already see in the first week of the season how what they did in the offseason in terms of kind of ignoring hitters has already messed them up.
It's called cutting corners. That's essentially what it is. Brian Cashman cut corners in order to financially save money. And we will talk about the pitching a little bit later on, because that really is probably the biggest spot where they cut corners. And at least through the first 2 weeks, it is also rearing its ugly head, so to speak. But just from a fundamental, position player standpoint, I think last year, maybe you can look at it sort of like a sort of standalone if you really want to. But at the end of the day, it's like you knew Glaber was struggling a little bit at shortstop. And now the only guy who you have to replace him if he struggles a little bit is a guy who is a third baseman in Gio.
Yeah.
So how is that allowing your young, I guess you could say inexperienced shortstop to actively be able to be confident in himself, knowing that if he screws up, he's pretty much just going to be left out there to drown, so to speak.
Yeah.
And that's not what you really want. It's not going to help you out. It's not going to allow your team to grow. And it's those sort of lack of smarts that the Yankees, I feel like, have demonstrated over the last 2 years, that, they want to play the smarts with trying to out Kevin Cash and out raise the Rays. But it's like they're failing to do the things that are smart that actually help them win games or help them put a winning ball club out on the field, in favor of, like we said, trying to find the analytical approach or cutting corners. And it's like, I've said it countless times. I think the biggest reason we haven't seen Glaber the way that he was in 2019, when he was this kid that we all said he's only 22, and he had that interview at the end of the first game against Houston in the ALCS where he was just so electric, is because of the defense. He went from being a surefire second baseman, a kid who was unbelievable at the position. Maybe he wasn't as flawless as we used to see Robbie Cano do it.
No, but he was a competent
looked really
second
good.
baseman. Yeah,
he was above.
I think he was better than that.
Competent. He was really good.
Yeah, he
was
was
a solid, above average option at second base, and now he is a well below option at second base. Or at shortstop. So when that's in your head, it's the same thing as Gary. It's like Gary stinks because I think half of it is he's pressing so much to be the best defensive catcher that he is, when he's really just never going to be that. And then you think of this in the same way. And now he has a guy in DJ who last year he had never played with. He had played with Didi for his entire career coming up. The two of them have made a rapport. Now he has to play a new position with a new middle infield partner who he's never played with. It stands to show that he's done it. Now, yesterday he had a big hit. Wound up driving in the game-tying run against
first
Tampa
RBI
Bay.
of the season.
First RBI of the year, but he hasn't left the ballpark. He has not been able to really put together those big hits that we saw in 2018 when he came up as a rookie in 2019. And you only hope that yesterday's game, like we kind of want it for the rest of the Yankees, uncorks something that they desperately need.
You know what's a crazy stat real quick, Josh, before you go?
Yeah.
I said it last Tuesday, but Gleyber Torres, right? I think he's 0 for his last 14 or something with the bases loaded. That's insane because usually the pressure's on the pitcher with the bases loaded. So, you know what I mean? Like, you should be able to feel comfortable.
Not with the Yankees.
Not with the Yankees. But yeah, that's just an insane number to me because he's so talented. It's just crazy.
I saw a lot of people making the joke yesterday, like the Yankees should decline the free base runner in the extra innings because when they have a runner in scoring position, they just stop. They just
cease
literally
the
their
ability to
kryptonite.
hit.
Move him to first. Move him to first.
You know what, though? Yesterday when Odor got that hit, it's not, in my opinion, it's not a coincidence that immediately there was a rally right away because you're just waiting for that one. You're waiting for that one big hit to kind of, relieve the stress from the entire team. And you saw that, like, as soon as that happened, we felt it too. We were talking about how, like, we had tension and we just sort of felt it, leave our bodies. And then, the next couple guys up get hits. And all of a sudden it's a 4-run game in the 10th inning. And that's not a coincidence to me. It's like this whole team, they definitely feel it. They've been pressing. You can tell the life in the dugout is not what it usually is when that team's clicking. They haven't really remained that same upbeat team that we've been used to seeing when they're riding high. And that concerns me.
Yeah.
That concerns me because obviously, like, you can't expect them to be that high level of energy all the time, especially when they're losing and when they're doing it in the fashion that they have been doing it in prior to yesterday's game. But it's, it's concerning how, we're, a week into the season and we're talking about things like, oh, their energy level seems low. They don't seem very lively in the dugout. There doesn't seem to be a ton of energy, throughout the team. And you look at a team like the Red Sox, not to compare, but, they're wheeling each other in a shopping cart.
Yeah,
they hit a home run and they're wheeling each other in shopping carts down the dugout. And it's like, where's that looseness? Where's that energy? That's something the Yankees are missing. We'll have to see, is that really an issue throughout the season, or is that just a thing right now as they, get off to a little bit of a slow start?
I saw somebody say yesterday on Twitter that exactly what you said, Josh, and it made me think, well, who have been the guys over the last couple of years who have sort of fit that mold as the goofy, jokey, all in one, liven up the team type of guy. And, for so many years after the Jeter era, it was Didi with the post-game tweets and with the sword stuff at second base with Gleyber, and obviously with, him doing some bat flips and stuff when he would hit big home runs. He felt like the guy who just kept things loose. And the Yankees have a captain. They have two captains. They have Gerrit Cole, who is, at this point, other than Aaron Judge, the face of the franchise. And he's the guy you look for to represent the Yankee way. And then they have Judge. But neither of those captains are guys who I personally feel like,
I would say Gardy
alleviate the pressure.
I would say Gardy's like a clubhouse leader.
But Gardy to me is like, outside of like kind of the joking back and forth with Aaron Judge, none of these guys are like those guys that, relieve the stress. They don't, get the cork down. You remember Torres when Judge first came up, and he would do the toe night show, that stupid little thing where, when Todd Frazier came over, they did the thumbs down. It's like these guys that don't take themselves so seriously with, the way that the game is being played, that they understand that you can be confident, but that you can also be a little bit jokey with it. And sometimes it almost feels like this team borders on cocky unlikability as opposed to fun, loose confidence. And, and that's like the line that you kind of want to see them toe. You want to see them be more like confident and fun because they know they're a good team, but they love playing baseball, as opposed to cocky, but then trying to grip the bat too tight because they have to back it up.
I just think that, right now also they're just not, doesn't seem like they're having fun. It's just because they're not hitting. Like they're just not.
That's true.
Oh, so I'm going to try to take a positive spin on this. And because I'm trying something new this year, guys, and to the listeners.
I don't like it. We want ratings. We want to see you blow up, bro.
No, don't worry. I'm gonna blow up, but I'm trying to be positive. Like, I just think that, yeah, these 9 games have been rough. It's been exhausting. We have, as Yankee fans, we should be annoyed because, again, as you said it, we've seen it every time in the postseason. It's the same shit, different day, right? But in the regular season, I just feel like they're eventually going to hit. Which is that they haven't really faced great pitching yet, right? Like, so you're just like, why is this team doing so bad against? Maybe it's the start of the season. I don't know. Hopefully it is, but they're gonna hit. They are gonna hit. This lineup will get going. It just sucks right now that we just need that breakout game, right? And hopefully it starts with tonight. Give me like a 7-1 game. I know 7's not breaking, but 7-1, 8-1. I don't know. Gerrit Cole on the mound, shutting them down, and then the Yankees just smack.
What would you say if I told you?
Yeah, Robbie
What
Ray.
would you say if I told you a week ago the Yankees won 7-2, where Gerrit Cole pitched 7 shutout innings and struck out double digits, and then the next 3 games they still did not score or get any hits with runners in scoring position, and went 8 for 34 in the next following 3 games with runners in scoring position? And that's what's so concerning. That's why you can say all you want until the cows come home. And the media loves to do this. The beat writers love to do it. And a lot of Yankee fans and, radio personalities on the Fan or ESPN radio love to say it as well. Oh, it's early. But it's not early when you've seen the same thing for 4 years. And that's
no, exactly. No, that's why I understand, of course, the frustration. We should be frustrated for sure.
Yeah. And it's how many times you have to see the same thing happen before you just realize, like, oh, that's just what this team is. That's just how they are.
Definition
that's how
of
they're
insanity.
built. It's the team that they are front runners. When they are out ahead, they will kill you. But when they are down, like they have been in the last couple of weeks, in the previous postseason series, it doesn't look good. And that's just, the makeup of a home run hitting team, a home run strikeout team. That's just how they are. And that's why I really liked yesterday's 10th inning we know Gio hit that homer in the beginning of the game to tie it up at 2, but yesterday's win did not come because of home runs. It came because of singles and doubles. And that's what I like to see. Give me a base hit with 2 men on. Give me a double with a man on second. I don't need to see the home runs. And that's why I liked yesterday's.
But
that's why we love DJ so much.
And they haven't been hitting home runs. And that's why they haven't
even been hitting home runs.
That's why they haven't been winning games. That's why they're under 500, because you keep them in the park, you keep them off the scoreboard, and obviously they're not going to win. And that's how it's been in the playoffs. And that's how it's been to start the season. And that's exactly where the concern comes in, as we've been saying, because it's the same fashion. It's the same way of losing that, has pained us in previous Octobers. It's carried right over to this April. Obviously, we know they will heat up. It's a very long season. We've barely gotten into it. We know this team is talented, and they're talented and healthy, knocking on wood. They will be fine in terms of regular season. They'll probably still win their division, and we're going to be sitting here, at the end of the season. I hope you're right. Yeah, well, we'll be sitting here at the end of the season, one way or another, probably talking about a playoff team and talking about how far can they go when they're built this way. But at this moment, until they win, right, until they actually do it, it's hard to sit here and say, like, yeah, it's going to work out this time, because we have been seeing the same sort of brand of baseball for the past few years. And that's just how it is because of how the team is built. And that's obviously not changing, because the roster is the roster.
The only thing you can hope is, how many years have we seen at the deadline Cashman prioritize another big bat? Give us a bat who gets base hits. I don't want another Edwin Encarnacion who you can slot in the middle of the lineup, so that way you can talk about how he has 40 home runs and hits dingers. And
I wanted Brantley.
Yeah, Brantley. But here's the thing. There will probably be guys at the deadline this year who are average hitters. And not average as in like average as like, oh, they're fine. Average as in hit for average, get on base and do something.
Guys like DJ and Gio.
Those guys. Yep. And maybe that's Odor. Maybe he brings in a new approach, because now he's here just like Gio did when he first came and got to work with Marcus Tim. So we'll see. Maybe that will be something big.
That would be great, because he's left-handed. And I just have to say this about this lefty thing. It drives me it drives me absolutely insane how every offseason the fan base, people on the radio call for the Yankees to sign a left-handed hitter. It's been Michael Brantley 2 out of the last 3 or 4 off seasons, right? And then you get the response from Cashman when he's asked about it saying, we don't really prioritize that. We feel good about the lineup we have. We don't really care about handedness. As long as these guys, impact the baseball, hit the ball hard, blah, 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 all those same buzzwords and talking points. So if you want to tell me that lefty righty stuff doesn't matter, then don't tell me that Aaron Hicks needs to bat third because he's left-handed.
Yep.
Don't tell me that. Don't tell me that you want to take Clint Frazier out of the lineup and put Brett Gardner in the lineup because it balances out the lineup more. I have no issue with Brett Gardner playing. That's not the point I'm making.
He's been good.
And Clint hasn't exactly been tearing the cover off the ball. So that's not really the thing for me. Obviously, I would like to see him in the lineup because I think he needs to play to show that he's actually good.
Exactly.
Because they kind of pull the rug out from under him a lot. Now he's back in the lineup tonight, so that's good. But my point being is, don't tell me that it doesn't matter if we sign left-handed hitters or not in November and December. And then on April 8th or April 9th, you tell me that it does matter. And that's why Aaron Hicks is batting third. And that's why Brett Gardner is starting in left field. Which is it? It either matters or it doesn't. And I just want consistency. So if you're going to tell me it doesn't matter, then play all 9 guys bat right-handed. Or whatever. And then Aaron Hicks obviously is a switch hitter, but put him 6th in the lineup, put him 7th where he belongs, lower in the order. Or if it does matter, prioritize it in the offseason. Don't rely on 37-year-old Brett Gardner to play every day. Don't tell me Jay Bruce is the guy that you want playing first base because we know that they obviously don't. Rougned Odor is your left-handed hit. That's your left-handed hitting acquisition. It's stuff like this that drives me crazy, that it's like, okay, something.
Rather than get major league guys that go Talkman and Mike Ford from the minors.
Mike Ford, exact. Tyler Wade is another left-handed hitter. It's stuff like that drives me nuts, where it's this arrogance of like, this is our way and this is how it is and we don't change it for anything and blah, 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 blah. Or this philosophy doesn't matter, but then all of a sudden it does matter when we're 3 games into the season. It drives me absolutely insane. And I had to just get it off my chest.
Good. No, I like it.
That's what it is. It's an opportunity to open up and de-stress and talk about what needs to be talked about. Because the fact is, you might look at us 3 as far as Yankee fans and say, man, these 3 are pretty pessimistic when it comes to the team. But we expect championships, and not in the cocky kiss our rings 27 championships way. And we haven't seen the team win now in over a decade, and they have lost the same way. So
but something, it's not even that. It's not even, we expect championships. They set those expectations.
Yeah.
They are the ones who say, we have a championship caliber team. We feel good that we can win the World Series. Quotes like that you hear all the time from Boone or from the players. Or Cashman too. They set the expectation. The ownership says we try to put out a World Series winning team on the field every single season. They set those expectations, not us.
Yep, it's true.
So, and that's where the frustration from a lot of fans comes from, is if that's the goal, then do everything possible to get there.
And it's important to remember that just because you are on the Yankees and you play for the Yankees does not make you a New York Yankee winner. I'm sure Derek Jeter, when he was a rookie and they hadn't won in '96, wasn't going around saying, hey, we expect to win championships. No, it has to be earned to get to that point. And we've talked about it before, that a lot of the time, whether it's Judge or Voit or some of these guys other than Brett Gardner, who have not won a title on this team, act as though they are the best team and they have been there and they have done that just because.
Judge is taking the blame, though. Judge is taking.
Yeah, no, I agree, absolutely, but that's what it is. It's like, in the 70s and the 80s, or the early 80s and the early 90s, when the Yankees weren't winning titles, I doubt you had Dave Winfield or Mattingly going out there saying how they were going to, be the championship favorite every year, and how they knew what they were going to do and they didn't have to worry about anything, because it's like these guys, they want to make sure that they can put their money where their mouth is. They got to learn how to do it. Got to learn how to walk before you can run and all that stuff. So, that's just, I I guess one way to look at it. But we got other things to discuss in regards to this New York Yankees team. And a theme earlier in the podcast was cutting corners. And, obviously we don't want to spend this whole podcast, shitting all over what the Yankees did, but they've given us a lot of things to complain about, at least through the first 2 weeks. And the next things we do have to discuss, boys, is the New York Yankees rotation, because Gerrit Cole's a beast. He's the man. So because of his perfect little face, we do not have to insult him at all. He is fantastic. But the other 4 schleps that they got in there, they have not really been that good. I will give Jameson Taillon some slack, because in the one start that he has made, he did look good. He gave up a couple of solo shots, but you understand that given he's coming back from major reconstructive arm surgery and hasn't really pitched over the last couple of years, he's not going to go long. But Corey Kluber was absolutely terrible in his second start and was good but not great in the first start that he had. Then you have Domingo Germán, who was just absolute crap. He was a steaming pile of dookie when it came to his 2 starts. And then you had Jordan Montgomery, who was 6 strong, really good in his first start, and then battled in the game yesterday. But what it boils down to is the Yankees have 1 good starter and 4 question marks, which will absolutely destroy their chances of being able to win games if their starters can't go more than 3 1/3 innings or 4 innings, and then they have to rely on their bullpen, which has been fantastic, as Eri pointed out, but that will not last the more that you use them into a 162-game season in a year where they last year only played 60 games.
You want to talk about trends that the team has shown over the course of multiple seasons. This would be another one where they become so reliant on the bullpen throughout the regular season that by the time they get to the playoffs and still relying on the bullpen gets fried, or the opponent just gets used to facing the same pitcher so many times that it becomes a little bit easier to face them. This is another thing through the first 9 games of the season that's sort of trending in the same direction, which is an issue. I think, I do think Taillon's going to be fine. We kind of talked about him in the offseason and, the last episode that I was on. We think he's going to end up being good for them. I think Monty is going to be solid. I don't think he's not going to obviously be as good as he was his first time or as bad as he was yesterday. I think we can expect mid-rotation quality from him throughout the season. Kluber, I'm a little less sure about, but I think he has to kind of get the rust off. He's another guy, that hasn't really pitched much the last few years.
Yeah.
That leaves Domingo Germán, who again also is somebody who hasn't pitched a lot in the last couple of years due to a suspension. He has been terrible. He complete opposite of what he was in the spring. He's giving up home runs left and right. He's getting hit hard. He just doesn't look good. And I think they have an issue on their hands with him. Now, he was optioned to the alternate site. It's not a demotion. He'll be back for his next spot in the rotation. They just needed to get a fresh arm in the bullpen because of, how taxed it has been. I think they have an issue with him. He is somebody I'm worried about. He has been unprofessional off the field multiple times. And one of those times was one of the worst things that a human being can do. And he has now, through 2 starts, been terrible on the field. I think they have an issue here. Now, obviously, I don't expect anything to happen right away. I don't expect him to be taken out of the rotation and switched with Deivi Garcia. I don't expect him to be designated for assignment, whatever the case is. But I do think that that's something to look for. I mean, this situation is something to watch, I should say, because I do think that this could become an issue. And I'm frankly nervous about it.
Frankly, you said it, Josh. Domingo Germán's not going anywhere. And unfortunately, he's going to have to, work on some stuff down there right now. And he's going to be back up and he's going to have to work on it in these regular season games. And they're going to continue to put him out there. And yeah, we're going to see Deivi Garcia as well because of how the rotation is set up. But Germán's going to have to battle this season. And we're going to see that early on. Hopefully he can start pitching well because he had a fantastic spring. But you alluded to it as well. There are 3 pitchers that haven't pitched in like 2 years here. So it might take Germán, of course, I'm scared about the most. Kluber, that's actually someone I'm scared of too. Kluber, it takes him a little bit, right? Even like when he was pitching normally, consistently, isn't he like a late bloomer? I think his stats would back in the day.
Yeah.
So hopefully he can get that going. And I think Tyone's going to be okay. The thing is, right now they're all on pitch counts. Kluber, I mean, was not on a pitch. The last outing was awful. He just like threw a lot of pitches and he just didn't have it. But everyone else is just on pitch count right now, which again is very taxing for the bullpen. But yeah, right now we're gonna see with the pitching. I think the concern for right now has been more of the offense, but the offense should eventually hit. So I guess it does go back to, can these guys continue to stay healthy and can they battle back? Because we've seen the last postseason, actually in the postseason too, the pitching, the starters have been the issue and the offense. So yeah, I guess we just have a predicament. I'm just going in circles here, but yeah.
I mean, I don't want to make excuses for the Yankees because, you know, at the end of the day, if you fall into that trap, then that's an issue. Cashman cut corners, and through the first 2 weeks, it has burned them because when 4 out of 5 of your pitchers or 3 out of 5 of your pitchers all can only pitch 85 pitches, and that gives you literally 4 innings tops, then by time April's over, you're going to literally have destroyed your bullpen. I mean, they already had to bring up an arm because the guy who pitched the day before they brought up that arm couldn't make it out of the 3rd inning. So it's just not acceptable to think that one, if Kluber and Tyone and Monty and Herman or whoever it is do turn it around, that it's okay that they just turn it around in May after giving subpar performances for, you know, the entire month of a 162 game season, or that they'll turn it around at all. And that's what really is concerning. I was the first person to say I thought Kluber was going to be good, and hey, he has time to prove me wrong. You know,
he has a lot. That's the thing. The jury's still out on him.
His first start, he was aided by the umpire. He got a lot of close calls. And then on the second start, I said it myself. Yeah, the defense didn't do him any favors, but the balls that were hit that the defense didn't make plays on were hit hard. So he was getting hit hard. You worry about Herman just getting absolutely shelled. And then you say to yourself, all right, let's say Tyone works out. Great. Monty, reliable 4 or 5 starter. Now you're down 2 starters. And it's a month into the season and you just wasted, you know, your bullpen for an entire month because you had guys who couldn't get out of the 4th inning. And now you're going to be relying on a rookie who didn't get the pitch the first month of the year. So you got to build him up. And then we get Luis Severino, who hasn't pitched in a year and a half, and now you have to rely on him. So it's cutting corners. They could have gone out there and signed Charlie Morton, who pitched last year. And yeah, maybe they would have had to give him a lot of money to convince him not to stay with either Tampa or, you know, with Atlanta, where he ultimately went. But it's like there were options here. They paid the money that they wanted for Kluber. We get why they did it. And if he turns out to be fantastic because he is a slow starter, then you eat your crow. But it's what has happened with the offense in not making right decisions. Is what has happened with the defense in playing Glaber at a position that he's not really comfortable with, and then not getting a backup shortstop. And now it seemingly has carried over to their every single starter spot outside of the immaculate, fantastic Gerrit Cole, who we love and we would never insult, and he's the best.
I feel like we've said this before, Jules. It's from the Breaking Bad line, half measures. I feel like we've talked about that in past seasons. You know, that's just kind of how it's been because of budget reasons. So it's hard. You know, I don't really know if I blame Cashman so much as I do.
Yeah, it's just the organization.
You know, it's an organizational. Philosophy. Yeah, it's an organizational thing, right? Like, obviously, these are moves that we discussed at the time would either be, you know, high risk, low reward because of how much they're actually paying for them or gave up to acquire in the case of Tyone. But it does have high risk potential because you're relying on these guys to be, you know, your 2 and your 3 starter for the most part. It's not as if they had, you know, a strong 1 through 3 and then they brought in these 2 guys where it's like the ceiling could be really, really high. They don't really have a lot of margin for error. And yeah, so I mean, this is where it's early thing comes into play, and it actually is important to say that because this doesn't mean that it's going to continue this way throughout the season. It also doesn't mean that this is what's going to come back to bite them in the ass, the same way that not being able to hit with runners in scoring position has been the bugaboo for multiple seasons on end. So, yeah, I mean, listen, I said before, the one I'm worried about the most is Herman, because I just feel like that can end badly. Do I have the statistics or anything to back that up? Not really, but it's just a feeling that I have where I could just see that going very, very, very poorly quickly.
We also, all three of us also, if we had to pick, we didn't really want him to make the team, but
yeah.
Well, we all said Debbie.
Well, that's the thing. We don't want to root for him. So if he's going to pitch this
yeah,
badly, it's going to feel worse.
it's like, yeah,
He's
exactly.
an unlikable guy who has now 2 very unlikable starts under his belt.
I want to say this though, the Yankees are not the only team I feel like that do this right around the league.
It's a baseball thing.
It's a baseball thing where starting pitchers are only pitching 4 or 5 innings, and it's going to be really bullpen heavy. So we're going to continue to see this, but I'm not ready to give up on like Kluber or Tyone or any of these guys yet. They're still being stretched out.
I think I'm more concerned
my main
about
thing is just like real quick. My main thing is just they're starting these games and they come out healthy and they're fine. They didn't have the stuff that night, but they're healthy. Then they have a next start to maybe work on it and continue to build their repertoire and stuff like that. Just stay healthy, because I think eventually, hopefully, again, I'm trying to stay positive. Hopefully, the stuff will come and they will stretch out and they'll give us more length as the season continues.
What alarms me the most, more than anything, maybe more than any other year, is this is a full slate of games. Last year was 60. These guys, not the starters, but the bullpen and everybody really didn't have an opportunity to get that same sort of work that they would have been used to. And maybe for some guys like Gerrit Cole, it's great because now they have the opportunity to know that they didn't throw that many innings last year, and now they don't have they don't have to worry about it. But for our bullpen, who you have to play Tampa 18 times, and as Josh pointed out, if you get to the point where early in these games in April and May, your starters aren't getting out of the 5th inning because of either pitch count, or they need to be worked up, or they're getting hit hard, then Tampa's going to take notice, and Boston's going to take notice, and Toronto's going to take notice, and the teams that you will most likely see come the end of the year will know A, how to hit your pitchers, and B, that's if your pitchers are still able to be worked. So that's to me the biggest concern. And I do get it's early. I don't want to write these guys off now. But more than last year, more than 2 years ago, more than 3 years ago, the alarm bells to me are sounding majorly after these first 2 weeks with the starting rotation, because what failing would mean to the rest of the team, or at least to the rest of the pitching staff.
No, that's a fair point. And I think that it's something to monitor. It's definitely something to monitor. But again, it's not a surprise because we could have predicted that 3-4 weeks ago, 3 months ago, even. So, yeah, I mean, listen, it has to improve, and I think it will. The question I have is, if let's just say, right, let's say Monty and Herman and Kluber had pitched well in both of their starts, I still think that the Yankees wouldn't let these guys go very deep into games. Cole's the only one that has that, where it's like, if you want to stay in the game, you're staying in the game because you've earned that, and you're just a different beast. You're a different breed. He's not human. The other guys, for various different reasons, whether that's, past accomplishments in the case of Monty, he's a young guy who hasn't really done much. Herman is somebody who hasn't pitched in 2 years. Tyone, Kluber, the same. Those guys, I don't think would have the same leash. If they were pitching well, I think we'd see them go 5 into the 6th, but I'm not sure we'd see them go 6, 7 the way we've seen Cole do. So I still think that this is part of the plan. Obviously, it would be much better. We would feel a lot better about it if these guys had been pitching well and they'd been going to the bullpen, for a slightly fewer amount of outs. But I do think this is part of the plan because of, like you've been saying, the lack of workload for a lot of the pitchers over the last 2 years, the shortened season last year. This, I think, is sort of just the baseball philosophy in general. But I also think it's a Yankee thing where they're really, really, really going to slow play these pitchers to build them to a point in the season later in the spring, in the summer, where they're free and easy to go 6, 7 innings. I don't know if these guys would be doing that right now, even if they were, pitching really well.
All right. I agree. I think they're all valid points. I guess we'll just kind of have to see where it goes from here. Josh, you kind of already made your point, but I'll ask E-Ray just for the sake of it. If you had to pick one guy that you think is going to rebound and be in the rotation throughout this year, who would you pick? And who's the one guy that you could possibly see not really being able to make it?
What are you in the current rotation?
Yes.
I mean, I think Josh, I agree with Josh where I don't really know a lot about Herman. I think that it's just, there's a lot there where we just don't know what he can do when it comes to this season. And I would say probably him, maybe not bouncing back, even though he had a great spring and a good season a couple years ago. And I just think Kluber, I still want to believe Kluber's going to be good. He has the stuff there. It's just, again, it's early on, and we need him to be good. That's the issue, right? So I think it might be a lot more hope than actual results, but I'm hoping that he's going to be good, and I think he will be. So those are my two guys.
I do think that's a very good point, that Kluber, maybe more than anybody, is the guy that they cannot afford to be bad. And it's because of how much money they paid for him. And the fact that effectively
we replaced Tanaka with them. We decided to go.
He's effectively their number 2 starter. No matter what way you want to put it, no matter what you want to say. Yeah, Monty might be relied upon in the first 2 starts as their number 2, especially because he's pitching a game before Gerrit Cole and that sort of stuff. But they paid the money and took the track record of Kluber to be the guy who is their second best pitcher. So they can't really afford more than Tyone or Herman for him to falter and fall down the stretch, unless Tyone turns out to be, what he was 2 years ago. And in that case, all bets are off. So that's what it boils down to. And I guess we'll only have to wait and see. But Gerrit Cole does pitch today, and that's probably the most exciting thing, right?
And that's put smiles on all our faces, because it's a great day when it's Gerrit Cole day.
Yeah, and look, the fact of the matter is he not only looked dominant in that last start that E-Ray and I, had the opportunity of doing the live video broadcast for, but every single time he pitches, it's a treat. And you almost feel like this is a guy who is a perennial top flight pitcher, and the Yankees are lucky to have him. Same with DeGrom for the Mets. The 2 best pitchers are in New York, but it's a joy when you get to watch those guys pitch.
That Port of Grom, let me tell you.
Yeah. At least as bad as the Yankees are hitting with runners in scoring position, at least recently, it could be worse because the Mets just don't hit at all when Jacob deGrom, pitches. Not even like get on base. And man, if only back page of him as a Yankee to a few years ago with the New York Post article turned out to be real, right?
I know. He actually might be in the Hall, he might go to the Hall of Fame with maybe the least career wins. I mean, wins don't really, it's whatever, but still though, this guy should be close to 300 at the end of his career, but he's going to be nowhere near that.
He might not. Will he even be close to 200?
I don't even know. I don't know his career record, but
isn't he he's a little bit older. He was a late bloomer, so he's not even. It's not like this guy's 26, 27 years old.
Has he won 100? He's definitely
won. I'm looking it up right now. I feel like he's around 70 wins or something like that. But we age also plays a role in this. Well, I'll look this up.
You guys continue. So he doesn't have a ton of innings on his arm, which is obviously one of the few good things that you have to worry about that. But we don't have to talk about the Mets too much when it boils down to it, because we got the real best pitcher in New York and Gerrit Cole.
Those are fighting words.
Yeah, I know. I just had to get that one jab in there to make any Met fan that listens to our Yankees podcast to make them get up in arms. And we know the Mets fans that we are talking about, the ones that listen to the podcast with us. But as far as the upcoming schedule for the Yankees is concerned, we'll pull that up right now. And we already know they're going to be taking on the Blue Jays today. And that is actually going to be going on. And we're not doing a live video broadcast for it, but it is going to be going on in just about an hour or so from the time that we're recording this podcast, which will, of course, drop tomorrow. Those 3 games are in Dunedin, Florida, because, of course, Toronto cannot play in Canada right now. And then they have a 3-game homestand against the Tampa Bay Rays. So the 2 teams outside of that game against Baltimore, they switch back and forth over that opening stretch of the season. So there'll be some exciting games. We'll have to see how it kind of boils down to and what happens. But at least as far as what we've seen in that first 2 weeks, you're going to get an opportunity to see it again when they take on Tampa and Toronto.
Yeah, and it's interesting how they're kind of just yo-yoing back and forth between these two teams and each other's ballparks. So it could create some interesting games to come this week when you have a little bit more familiarity with each opponent. But yeah, no, I mean, listen, the main concern for me, not a concern, the main thing for me at this point is winning tonight because you have Cole on the mound.
Yes,
Yep.
they need to win tonight. Must win,
carry
baby.
that. There he goes. It's the E-Ray must win.
I said yesterday.
You did.
And what they do, baby, they listen.
They won.
They did.
You want to carry that momentum from yesterday over into tonight when you have your guy going.
Must win. I can't overuse the must win.
No,
you talk familiarity, Josh.
Especially in April.
We saw the bad blood with the hit by pitches from Tampa this past weekend. Now, less than a week later, after Kevin Cash already said last night that he was very upset with the way Major League Baseball handled the Chapman stuff last year and the Tanaka suspension that never happened after he threw up an in. I would, like E-Ray said, be very, very shocked if, they start first inning, don't just throw and let the umps warm both benches so they can't retaliate.
Just don't hurt us. Just don't hurt us.
Yeah, just don't hurt us. Yeah, I just want to say something about Kevin Cash. Like, this guy bitches so much. Like,
yes. He loves to.
You embarrass this team every time you play them. You destroyed them in 2020. You took their hearts out in the playoffs last year. You're off to another start this year where it looks like you're just going to continue to clown the Yankees. Isn't that enough? Enough?
You know what? I bet you if they had won last night, you wouldn't have said anything. That's what I think.
Probably not.
I think he only said something because even though they didn't win the game, he had to make sure to get his, jab in or beat the Yankees somehow. Because notice when they went up and in on Saturday, he didn't say anything afterwards because they destroyed us, or they didn't destroy us. They won 4-0, but they made the Yankees batters look like fools.
Yeah, and Montgomery had issues yesterday with his control and command. So him hitting, a couple guys isn't like it was out of the ordinary for the game. He didn't really know where the ball was going.
First batter on 4 pitches.
Yeah, and he hit. He didn't know where the ball was going. And listen, like, I get it. You don't want to see that. You don't want your guys to be getting hit by pitches because at some point it could turn serious. It could turn into an injury.
Yep.
But it's not like you're this innocent little soldier over there on the other side. You've made your fair share of comments. We all know about the
how many times have they thrown up and in? That's what
and this all started
the situation to begin with.
This all started years ago with they threw up and in on Austin Romine, and it's been continuing on ever since. Mm-hmm. It's not as if the Rays are innocent bystanders in this. It's not as if Kevin Cash has never said or done anything to where it should be a surprise that these things continue to pop up. It's just like, let's just calm down a little bit. Let's reevaluate the situation. Take a look at what was going on in yesterday's game before you decide, this is intentional. They're trying to hit us. Let's just relax.
Yep, I agree 100%. All right, well, we do have good news to talk about because the fact is we have spent this entire podcast pretty much clowning the Yankees like the Rays have. So we have to bring up some good news. And the fact is, the last time that the three of us were at Yankee Stadium was October of 2019. It has been a long, long, long time coming. And last week on the podcast, E-Ray and I even teased the fact that there were some gears turning. There were some moves trying to be made to go to Yankee Stadium now that there are 20% capacity due to the COVID regulations in New York State. So, boys, I'll let you guys make the announcement. What's going to be taking place? Let the fans know. Let the masses know.
Yeah, so May 4th, 3 of us with an unnamed fourth will be attending a New York Yankee game for the first time in a year and a half.
And who are they facing, Josh?
And I don't know if you know, but that's also the day that the Astros come back to New York for the first time since the scandal broke.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so we'll be in the building when the Astros come back. Rob Manfred decided to do nothing to the players for their roles in the scandal, but don't you worry, we will rain down upon them.
Get your trash cans ready. You might be boarding the E-Ray.
Are you bringing the Sessa Fathead?
We are bringing Sessa section signs. We are.
Can you imagine if we actually did?
We're bringing buzzers. We're
have
bringing
to.
trash
We're not,
cans.
we can't
What else?
imagine that it is. We're the
That
Sessa
day-
Squad, bro.
I heard Ira's getting a terrible tattoo on his chest, so we won't be able to rip off his jersey.
That day, though, is not only that we're attending, but it will be the day that I'm finally getting my Jeter Jamboree. We are going back to that deli that I don't know the name of, that golden classic chicken, that turkey, the lettuce, tomato, the Russian dressing, you name it. Can't wait to bite it. It's going to be great. It's going to be glorious.
It's going to be awesome.
I've been waiting so long for that Jeter Jamboree. Oh.
It's crazy to think about how long it's been since, the three of us, whether
We used to
together
go
or
all
not,
the time.
we go to games all the time. And it's crazy that for the last year and a half, it hasn't even really been an option.
But we're back, baby, on May 4th, and I can't wait. Can't wait.
We need a win because Josh,
Yeah.
got to see the Aaron Hicks home run last time, and
I
obviously
did.
that was the one game that the Yankees
James
won at the
Paxton, how you
stadium.
doing? Oh, he's
That was the
excellent.
next night.
Sad.
Yeah.
We sadly had to see the bases loaded ineptitude that continued to be the Yankees against
That game was
Houston that
awful.
series,
Yeah.
where Zach Greinke was not able to get busted open by the Yankees offense, and we went home miserable, and such what it was. So now we get an opportunity to see them maybe go up against Zach Greinke again. We hope at a minimum that Gerrit Cole is hopefully pitching that first game of the series, but it'll be fun. I'm excited to get back there, to be able to see the game, to be able to be there in person, to commiserate or enjoy your time with your fellow fans, and eat ballpark food and drink ballpark beers and pay $50 for parking at Yankee Stadium.
I can't wait to do that.
It's a rite of spring, and hopefully, because I said this earlier today, no April baseball for me this year. I'm a staunch believer of not going to games in April, even though I always end up at games in April because it's cold, it's a little rainy. You never really want to be there. So I'm hoping May 4th. May the 4th be with you. Maybe it'll be a little warmer, low 60s. You wear a sweatshirt, you get your hat on, you enjoy your night. Nice, cool but warm May evening. That's what I'm putting the good vibes out there for. What about you? What are you guys looking forward to?
I don't everything. I can't wait to be
The
back.
sounds, the laughs,
Everything.
literally everything.
Everything. I can't wait. I was saying before, we were talking about E-Ray getting the sandwich at the deli. I'm like, I'm buying food at the stadium. I don't care the price. I'm doing that because I want, the whole thing. I want the full thing. I'm never taken for granted ever again for the rest of my life. Just
Are you getting the
being able to go to a baseball
chicken bucket?
Wow.
I may even get the chicken bucket. And
Josh, you
Wow.
never get the chicken bucket.
Chicken
This is a big
bucket.
moment.
that's not even
go.
like that's not in my diet usually.
Yeah, it's
I
not.
don't eat that way. But
you need to get it.
I may get the chicken bucket and the fries. I may
Wow.
do that. I may do that.
I don't even know if Yankee Stadium has new gimmicks because, of course, 2019 was where they came up with the black tap Sundays, which I tried.
Yes.
They had the chicken, of course. The only thing, and this is an official petition to the Yankees, I hope for the love of God they one day bring it back, was Josh and I, when we would go to games in 2017, we would sit out in the bleachers, and they had we used to call it the Mott's Giz because it was mozzarella. It was almost like a mozzarella salad. It was fresh mutts and arugula with prosciutto in it.
Yeah,
and
it was so
awesome.
good.
And we had it every single game of that Yankee playoff run when we were in the building, and they won every single game that we were there. And every game that we had it, and then shocker, they got rid of it the next season, and they have subsequently wasted their core since. So, correlation, I think yes, but maybe not. You always hear Craig Carton pine for bacon on a stick back at Citi Field. If you guys listen to Carton and Roberts in the afternoon, I am pining that the New York Yankees need to bring back the fresh Mutz Giz at Yankee Stadium. Make it happen, Yankees.
Let me just say this too. I just want everyone to know how meant to be this is, that we're returning on that day against that team. So last year, when I had a ticket plan last year before all the world went to shit, I had the ticket by chance, just a coincidence. I had a ticket for the first game against Houston. I was going to I was going to be there, but obviously that never happened. Fast forward, almost 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago tomorrow, I got my first COVID shot. So I get my second dose next Tuesday, April 20th, which means 2 weeks after that is when I'm good to go, right? That's May 4th.
Wow.
Yeah.
So the 14 days.
The first day I'm actually, technically immune is the day that I'm returning.
What
to
a
Yankee Stadium.
party that's going to be.
Obviously, I would do that no matter what the day was. It just happens to be a coincidence that they're playing Houston. Now, today, the tickets hadn't been on sale, right? Until today. They didn't sell the tickets for May home games yet. I wake up this morning. I usually don't look at the emails that the Yankees send me, but for some reason I did today, and it said May tickets are going on sale today at noon. So, we go to the group chat, we start talking about it. Iray's sleeping. So I log on at noon to buy the tickets. I don't hear from Julian. I don't know what you were doing. I guess you were busy. You were probably working. Iray was sleeping. I'm like, I got to buy these tickets, but I don't know how much we want to spend. I don't know where we want to sit. I'm tagging you guys. I'm trying to get you guys in the thing. I'm like, Iray's probably dead asleep. What happens as I say that? His bubble pops up. It was meant to be.
I awake. I rise to the occasion.
And even though I was late, I was prepared to pay at least $400 to be able to go. So it was lucky that we wound up paying about $40 instead of $400.
100 times less.
Yes, but if it was meant to be and we were going to get in the building and we got to sit in cool suite seats, I would have done that too. Because apparently, according to what I've been told or what I've heard, the way that you actually get food at Yankee Stadium is you have to order it on your phone and then go pick it up. But if you sit in the suites, they bring it to you. So that will be something that we get to experience live, and who knows, maybe we'll do some videos or fun stuff while we're out there just to put some content out, because we tweet during every game. If you don't already follow us at our little Yanks pod, make sure you follow it because it's always active, because somebody runs it, but I don't know who. And we'll have to see. So that's what it is, boys. Yankees play in just about a half hour from now. Gerrit Cole night. Score predictions?
Yankees will win tonight. I'm going to say they're going to win big. They're going to win 10-3.
Whoa.
Wow. Gerrit Cole give all three of the runs.
No. I'll say he gives up 2 runs tonight.
2 runs.
Home runs, usual Gerrit Cole.
Probably. They're playing in a minor league ballpark. It's going to be tiny.
Yes.
He's going to give up a home run or 2, but that's okay.
Yep.
The Yankees will hit 3 or 4 themselves.
I agree. E-Ray?
I'm going to say 7-2.
Yankees.
Just like last week.
7-2 Yanks. Oh, was it?
Yeah, that was the same score. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I'll say it again. Why not?
We can make that a cold day trend. That's fine with me. 7-2 every time he pitches. That'd be good.
I'm going to say Gerrit Cole pitches a shutout, and it's not going to be the Lucas Litke 2 runs at the end of it shutout. I think the Yankees get their first big shutout of the year. Gerrit Cole going to go 7 strong innings, wants to push it 8, but he won't get to. Strikes out 10. And Yankees, they mimic the Rays. They win 4-0. That's what I think.
Okay.
So
either way,
see if they get it.
They'll take it.
Yes, either way, we got 3 wins on the board, so we'll see whether or not that happens. Obviously, you won't know if you listen to the podcast tomorrow what the score was by this, but hopefully you do watch the game, because we know all the Yankee fans out there obviously will want to see what winds up happening on Cole Day with the Cole train and all that good stuff. So we'll have to see how that kind of goes. But as we wrap things up here, as always, E-Ray, you said you were going to save it for the pod this week. What do you got for us, bud?
So I am introducing something new.
Oh.
For the pod for the rest of the season.
Did you run that by me? I'm the producer.
I didn't, actually. I'm just going on my own.
All right, well, we'll see if it sticks.
Like
he went into business for himself.
I'm
going to call it the Papa of the Week. I think I mentioned
Papa of the Week. All right.
The Papa of the Week. So my Papa of the Week for the New York Yankees, and we haven't really discussed him today, and we should have, to be honest.
We should have.
He had one hell of a week, and that is a guy that you know best, Jules, Gary Sanchez.
Yeah.
Gary Sanchez is my Papa of the Week. He's been the best hitter on the Yankees so far. He's hitting 296, 8 for 27, 2 homers, 5 strikeouts, 4 walks. Big reason there. Not a lot of strikeouts. 5 strikeouts out of 27. He's looked like a different hitter so far. Hopefully he continues 9 today. But Gary Sanchez, my Papa of the Week. First Papa of the Week.
It's funny because yesterday when I was driving home with my wife, I wound up saying to her, one of the guys on the Yankees who's actually doing good this year is Gary Sanchez. And I'm always, anti-Gary and how much he stunk. And she's like, yeah, he's doing it to say, you know, screw you, Julian, because of how he's playing. So, you know, if he continues to give me the big old middle finger and winds up batting 300 and hitting a crap ton of home runs and driving in a lot of RBIs, has not hit a lot of home runs. He's been doing it with base hits, which has been very impressive.
Give me base hits. I like singles.
Including the singles.
I like singles. I like
the singles. But if he keeps doing that and it's just to give me the old, you know, screw you, then you know what? I'm fine with it, because I will be a Gary Sanchez supporter, even if it's not on the bandwagon, because I'm not allowed within 500 feet of the bandwagon because of how much I crapped all over him over the last couple of years. But I'll gladly take it. You know, that's what it's about. So I enjoy your Papa of the Week. I look forward to who the Papa of the Week is next week. I assume it was for last week. He was last week's.
Yes, he was last week. Yeah, exactly. Last week he was the Papa of the Week. I almost gave it. Now I'm creating gimmicks on the fly. I have my Papa of the Week, and then I was going to create my Papa moment of the week, and that's of course who got the big hit yesterday. So I'll leave that up to you. We can discuss offline what you want to do.
Yeah.
If you want a Papa of the Week and a Papa moment of the week, or if you just want one, we'll discuss with creative. But yeah, that's what I got this week.
All right, we'll see what creative wants to do. We'll check with the writing team, and then we'll get back to it next week to see what they come up with. Any other final thoughts, E-Ray, or any Josh as well?
No, just win tonight. Damn it.
Go Yankees. That's it.
And bust it open. Get some hits with runners at score position. Stop swinging at the
different lineup today too. So we'll see.
Yes.
If that works.
Aaron Hicks is not in the lineup due to obviously the things going on with social justice and everything happening with police brutality. So, you know, we stand with him making a stand. Did it come out whether or not Giancarlo Stanton was in? Is he going to play?
He is.
I just got
him so far.
I just got an ESPN notification that says Hicks out. So I'm pretty sure that means Stanton is in.
Yeah, I think Stanton's in.
It had also been talked about that Stanton might as well take himself out of the lineup, and obviously some things are bigger than baseball, so we totally get that. You know, our thoughts are with Aaron Hicks and G and Marcus Timms and, you know, everybody who had that conversation last year about social justice and, you know, civil rights and things like that when everything was kind of hitting the fan last summer. So it'll be interesting to see, but that's going to do it for us in this week's episode of our Little Yankees podcast. As always, you can listen to us wherever you can find podcasts. That includes Spotify, Apple Podcasts, TuneIn, as well as our home base SoundCloud, where you can find every single episode. And of course, all of our episodes and our beautiful faces are live on YouTube. We officially now have an Our Little Yankees podcast YouTube channel. So we're going to try and transfer some of the old episodes over to that. But this new episode is going to be there at a minimum. So you'll be able to find it there. And the link is in our link tree, which can be found on our Twitter account, which is at RLIL, L-I-L, YanksPod, spelled YANKSPOD. So our Little Yanks Pod, give us a follow. Give Josh a follow at He11. Give E-Ray a follow at E-Ray Chosen One. And I'm Julian Coltree at Julian Coltree. Until next time, folks, go Yankees. Let's see what they do this week.